Arcline can be considered as a sort of psychomagnetic shield for our mind. And every time that we have somehow weakness or instability at that level of our energy or energy being, we will feel vulnerable, we will feel with a lack of confidence, insecure, and we will feel that our mind is exposed. Yes, exposed. And I think this is most of the times what I come across in the people I do healing and do astrology work with, that people feel exposed to the energies of the world, the energies of their environment around their families, sometimes energies of people they don't even know. And they feel mentally sometimes that their thoughts can be sometimes kind of captured by others. Or, which is more likely to be the case, people feel that when you enter into a room and you feel with that vulnerability, you feel the thoughts of others. You feel how eventually the thought of others impact you. And you can look at the eyes of people and you can get some of their negativity, for example, or can get some of their anxiety or whatever is going on in their mind. This is the dynamics that takes place when there's two parts, one that is having a strong arcline, a strong psychomagnetic shield, and the other one that has a weak one. In this context, the weak one is the vulnerable one. And you are here because we have experienced that. We have had the moment where there's a energy from the outside, from the mind of people that really make us feel unstable, make us feel not just vulnerable, but exposed, and makes us feel somehow that we are not in our power. Nowadays, our society is really struggling with power, struggling with authority. Everyone is trying to get a grip on some solid base, psychological base, emotional base, and ultimately, why not, spiritual base as well. But that base is something that takes a long time to develop, is the connection to the soul. But in the meantime, while we have not yet experienced that full grounding energy, grounding effect of being connected to our soul, in the moment we are progressing in that direction, we still need to look up to our arcline. We must protect our dharma, we must protect our integrity, we must protect our mind. Without that minimum protection, we cannot really take our life forward and go through the challenges and go through the situations that are going to test us to be better, to be stronger, to be wiser. We are going to meet situations and we are going to run away. We are going to try to hide. We are going to feel that we are not ready, that we are not really having the courage for that experience of meeting the challenge, meeting whatever thing is coming your way. Now, the arcline is something that can be developed in several ways. Primitive men, primitive women, primitive humans did not have such an elaborated psychology like we do in the 21st century. And so the men and women from primitive times had a very natural protection in their brain, in the head, that allowed them to actually pick up intuitively or instinctively the messages of nature. And they were able to see the so-called spirit of the water, of the river, the spirit of the mountain, or the spirit of the sun, or the spirit of the clouds. And their psyche was very in tune in reading these messages of nature. And so they could live a very harmonious, most of the time harmonious relationship with nature. Let's not be too romantic, because they did have predators, animals there out that were dangerous to their survival. But the actual capacity to be in tune with the nature was very much a natural thing for them. For us, living in cities, that's not actually the case. We feel often that we are mentally tired and we are really drained to use our normal mental performance. And we don't have that intuition or instinct to properly conduct our lives, because the mind is actually not protected, because the mind is not in tune with nature. Now, when we speak about nature, we're not only speaking about the external nature. We know it's very clear. We look outside, there are trees, there's grass, there's mountains, rivers, lakes, you name it. But when we look inside, there's also a wilderness. And that's the wilderness of our own thoughts. Actually, if you look at different traditions, all of them have had masters who have had to go to the wilderness. This is symbolic, but also literal. And that means they have gone to caves, they have gone to desert, they have gone to the forest. Because in that environment, the external stimuli is way lower than the social environment in a city. So going into the wilderness is, of course, going outside there where you can be in peace. But it's mostly going inside when we can meet the different voices. Yes, we all have internal narratives, dialogues, sometimes even more than that, conflicts, or even worse, we have wars inside of ourselves, inside of our psyche. And we judge ourselves, and we condemn ourselves, and we don't appreciate or validate what there is in our life, in our hearts even. And that actually, little by little, starts to weaken the Arcline. It starts to make our mental capacity to hold our center weaker and weaker and weaker. And so our center starts to move in life. It goes into our whatever needs, survival needs, or it goes into our fears, or it goes into our desires or dreams about what we want in life. We don't hold that space of being here and now. The ways we have done it throughout history are basically two. One, in order to stimulate and strengthen the Arcline, is prayer and meditation. Both of them, both of these methodologies, both of these practices are spread out through different traditions, through different spiritual philosophies, through different religious protocols. And whether we use it in a way spontaneous, or we are very systematic and follow a strong protocol, it doesn't really matter. As long as we can spend some time with ourselves and we can observe the wilderness. Why we call wilderness what we have inside? Because they are monkeys. There are monkeys there jumping, and then it's like, oh, remember this or remember that. Do you know this? Did you know that? And the monkeys are there jumping, and then the intensity of our psychomagnetic force doesn't have that ability to spread through the space, because the monkeys are taking all the space. So what do is bring that jungle into order. And how do we bring that jungle into order? Well, we give a rhythm. We play the drums, boom, 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 and then the nature stops. The jungle stops because humans are playing the drums. This is symbolic. What are the drums? They are rhythm. There's a rhythm. We need to make the mind follow a rhythm. Without making the mind follow a rhythm, it will be just subjected to the wilderness it contains inside. That rhythm we do through mantras. We pronounce a mantra, we vibrate a mantra, and that creates a brain wave, that starts to be stable. And that brain wave can go all the way from the lowest, which we know as delta. Delta is when your deep sleep is like dreamless. That's where you repair, when you heal, deep in sleep in the middle of the night. And it goes up to theta, and then after that it goes to alpha, which is the normal kind of, and then beta, and then gamma. In theta is the meditative space. That's when we are dreaming, but we are aware of the dreaming. We're semi-conscious. We can be more conscious if we meditate deeper about the content of the inner world. But if we stay there, actually we enjoy a lot of our internal experience, and we can get to understand who we are. In the world of dreams, we actually access the unconscious. And that's where all the basic forces that make us go in this or that direction are located. But if we meditate, and the meditation being with that rhythm, creating that brainwave, makes the brainwave higher in pitch, it's measured by hertz, then we reach gamma. When we reach gamma, that's the point when we have these very deep peak experiences like samadhi or nirvana, you name it. So the rhythm creates a variation and a modulation of your brain and your mind. And that starts to build up your Arcline. This is what conditions the peace of mind that we experience. We cannot truly feel peace of mind if we are overly exposed with our mental energy. When we are overly exposed, or perhaps just normally exposed, we are going to be normally stressed out, the normal level of stress. But when we have a mind that can have that strength of protection that enables to keep the center, then we can feel the peace. There's nothing more valuable than feeling peace. There's nothing deeper and more healing inducive to actually create peace of mind. And when peace of mind is created, it doesn't mean stay there forever, because the mind is constantly moving. There's moments where the mind can stop, and we can direct it, we can focus, we can learn, we can read, we can pay attention to a movie. But these moments then change, and then the attention goes into something else, sometimes into more than one thing. So we must really create a modulation. That is what meditation does with mantras, following a certain rhythm, creating that pattern. But now the mantras are actually very powerful, but there's also the protocol of prayer. Prayer is this ancient, natural expression of human beings trying to convey God or the goddess or the gods, what they feel, what they fear, what they wish, what they want to accomplish. And since the beginning of humanity, people have prayed. They have gathered around the fire, they have gone into the caves, they have created simple songs, they have stayed together, or even sometimes use some kind of natural medicine from nature to induce that openness to pray, to connect to the divine and speak to the divine and transmit light, love, or simply our feeling to the divine. So these are the protocols. Meditation, prayer, consistently practice, it gives you so much intensity of your mind that you are going to be able to not only hold your space of your own psyche, but it's also going to give you the capacity to inspire others, to be able to, with your psyche, with the power of your psyche, to transmit that peace which you have conquered within to others. You will be able to see things with clarity, because the Arcline creates that sensitivity that connects to the environment. And so the mind becomes so clear. And with that clarity, you can guide yourself to begin with. And you can guide others when they are needing your guidance. The Arcline is not, as I was saying, the attribution of saints alone. The mantra is the Arcline is something that will be in every human being expressed in more or less intensity. Every human being has an Arcline. There's no human being without it. It's like not having the heart in the chest, or the stomach, or the knees, or the hands. We all have several dimensions or levels. But ultimately, as you probably have heard many times, we are vibrational beings. What's our first connection to the world around us? Energetic. We first connect with what happens energetically. The plants and the people might not immediately start speaking to you and explaining to you intellectually what they are all about. Rather, you capture from the environment the energies of the environment. When you have a strong Arcline, you are super intuitive. You have X-rays. You can see through people and understand what they think. Eventually, also, you can guide them and help their mind to be aligned with themselves. If there's a purpose in the Arcline, is to allow to be yourself. Why it is so? Because to be yourself, you need a shield. There's a very inner beauty light in all of us, and that's our true being. But that needs to have a container. And we have several layers that contain that light. The energetic most important layer, one of the most important layers, is the Arcline. It allows you to move through life knowing your place. You know your center. When you know your center, automatically you know your place. And the Arcline supports that wisdom, supports that experience. You know yourself, your center is here, the Arcline is working, and so you will always move and know, in literal sense, where is your place. When you don't have an Arcline that is strong or clear, what happens is that you get confused. You don't really know where to go, what to do, or how to do things. But when you create a strong Arcline, you start to know where, how to do things. Because the Arcline shows you the how, shows you the resources of life, the resources that are both inner resources and outer resources. That Arcline is the threshold or gateway to the external energetic experience of life, as well as the internal energetic experience of life. That's why all the saints are depicted praying, and they have this beautiful halo around their heads, full of light, full of centeredness, but at the same time, something that inspires others, actually something that makes others feel safe. You probably have experienced in moments of your life when some people come to you and they mentally make you feel threatened. And I'm not talking about just ordinary fear or just prejudice. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you feel that the person's mind, whoever that is, looks into your eyes and then you feel kind of too vulnerable to hold that person in your energy field. And you get all shattered, or you get frozen, or your face goes, all tense, and your shoulders and everything, because your mind at that moment is being actually taken over by someone else's mental energy. It's not that the person knows this, perhaps they have no idea. But the fact is that their energy, being stronger than yours, will make you feel taken over. It will make you feel that you are not in your power anymore. We are in moments that are truly complex. There's so much misinformation. There's so much polarization between different people that do not comprehend the bigger picture, and they are either seeing life as black or white. And there's so much in between that they are missing. And we're caught in that flow of tension in our societies. And that sometimes comes into our personal life with our friends or family members. So we must be very well focused in our center. Arcline will make it possible. And it's what we need to develop in the process of becoming who we truly are. Because the Arcline will support that being. I want to give you this meditation that is a meditation that I feel personally very drawn to because it really builds the energy of your Arcline. When we want to build the energy of the Arcline, as I was saying, we meditate or pray. Now, this meditation I want to share with you today brings the energy to Udana. This is something yogis describe as the 5 vayus, meaning the 5 types of energies. We have the energies we know sometimes, maybe, called like apana, very much on the base. Then the samana at the level of digestive system. Then there's the prana here in the chest. Then there's the udana in the head. And so when we bring the energy up, it starts to go into the subtle centers of our energy, subtle centers and subtle channels of our energy, building up the radiance, the psychomagnetic radiance of our Arcline and our mind. This meditation I'm going to share with you now, it's a meditation that uses the mantra Chattar Chakravarti.